All right. We're going to read a very difficult tablet by Abdul-Baha. Originally is under the title Lawh Aflakigeh, which is translated anonymously, and it's known as the tablet of the universe. Now, I've read this before many times. I think as far back as maybe 2, 3, 4 years ago, the last time that I read it. And it starts with a few paragraphs which are extremely difficult to understand. It's very metaphorically put together. I believe the subject matter is almost impossible to explain. So that's why it's been coached by Abdul-Baha in such a language. And as I said, it's not easy to follow. So, however, then when we get down to the actual body of the tablet, it'll talk about some very important points and principles, cosmological principles. And obviously, it's not just limited to cosmology, it's about the reality behind the reality with the capital R, behind all the specific realities. So, knowing Abdul-Baha, he has access to all of these fields, being the infallible interpreter of the words of the manifestation, which is basically divine words. So, keeping that in mind, I don't know how long I can read this before we finish this recording, but I'm just going to go right into it and start reading. This is, by the way, translated by, published in Makatib Abdul-Baha, Volume 1. So, let's go. Praise be to God, who hath ever caused his names and attributes to penetrate the degrees of existence. We are going to comment. I don't know how often, but this is one of those tablets that actually commenting on is not very easy, because I don't think I've nearly understood enough to comment, but certain things we can comment because these are repeated themes that we have encountered in other tablets and talks of Abdul-Baha. Praise be to God, who hath ever caused his names and attributes to penetrate the degrees of existence. All the degrees of existence. So all his names and attributes penetrated, animating, giving existence in different degrees, which is basically based on the capacity of the entity or the phenomena. Who hath made the effects of those names and attributes to the cause is from God. Now, who hath made the effects of those names and attributes to shine resplendent, and their signs to be firmly established in both the hidden and manifest worlds. So it's basically dividing the world into the hidden and the manifest. Obviously, manifest and the hidden, they have their own classifications, which we're not going to get into now. We're going to suffice it to go with the classification of very general one done by Abdul-Baha, hidden and manifest worlds. So all these signs are resplendent and manifest in the hidden and manifest world. By them, by what? By the names and attributes that are firmly established in both the hidden and manifest worlds. By them, he hath made the holy realities that are informed by his grace and are the recipients of his outpourings to be the sole revealers of all that pertaineth unto him, and hath caused them to move through the firmament of perfection in arcs of descent and ascent. So it seems like he's talking about these centers of perfections which God has created. He calls them here holy realities that are informed by his grace. So he gives them knowledge through his grace. They don't acquire the knowledge. These are existential knowledge. This is divine knowledge, innate knowledge, and hath caused them to move through the firmament of perfection, the perfect, in arcs. Moves them where? In arcs of descent and ascent. I don't know exactly what that is. We got to think about that. The firmament of perfection in the arcs of descent and ascent. The firmament of perfection, to perfection in the arcs of descent and ascent. So what is the arc of ascent and descent? That's the parabola, isn't it? If it is, I don't know how it can be interpreted back into the context. He hath ordained these names and attributes to be the first and foremost origin and cause of being in the world of creation, and the source of the different grades of realities in the degrees of existence. So all of these attributes and names, they have their own products that are created through these names and attributes. So these are divine creative power, I guess. When through its power of attraction, through what? Through what's that its go? Its power of attraction and propagation. Let's see what it goes back to. Attributes. He hath ordained these names and attributes to be the first and foremost origin and cause of being in the world of creation, and the source of the different grades of reality in the degrees of existence. when through its power of attraction and propagation, the day star of names, that means the first emanations, the first manifestations, the day star of names and attributes shone upon the hidden realities in the heart of the unseen realm. The day star. So when through its powers of attraction and propagation, the day star of names and attributes has power of attraction and propagation, shone upon the hidden realities in the heart of the unseen realm. They issued forth. So when through its power of attraction and propagation, they issued forth these names and attributes, okay, they issued forth, were spread abroad, scattered about, set in order, became the recipients of the grace of God and his outpourings, and were made to be the sole manifestations of the divine conditions and eternal signs. God. Oh, so these are the holy manifestations, I believe. They issued forth, were spread abroad, scattered about, set in order, became the recipients of the grace of God and his outpourings, and were made to be the sole manifestations of the divine conditions, the sole manifestations of the divine conditions and eternal signs. Only these are the divine, the complete manifestations of divine conditions and eternal signs. I have no idea what he's talking about. I have ideas, but they could be very well wrong. So let's read on, see what else we can get out of this. Emerging from behind the veils, they appear clothed in raiments of light, moving in the firmament of the unity of God, its orbits of sanctity and circles of glorification. So he is talking about, seems like he's pointing to the manifestations of God. It's God's manifestations. So he just basically explained that God created names and attributes, and these were centered, all of them, in absolute perfection in the persons of the manifestations of God, which is basically the last sentence. He says, moving. Okay, first of all, they appeared clothed in raiments of light. So they're shining, actually like stars, like physical stars. These are also described as the centers of light, moving in the firmament of the unity of God. They're all one and the same, in orbits of sanctity and circles of glorification. sanctified from all these limitations and circles of glorification. They glorify that essence, that unity, pointing to God. Thus, the sons of the praise of the one true God. I think here he's actually talking about, I don't know, is he talking about the manifestation? This is sons with the lowercase s. Thus the sons of the praise of the one true God moved resplendent in a vast, infinite space, capable neither of being defined by limits nor contained within the compass of signs and illusions. So, if we assume that he's talking about celestial bodies in the universe, phenomenal universe, he's talking about sons. All praise be to him who was its author and creator. Who has spread it out. It goes back to what? Infinite space. Thus the sons of the praise of the one true God moved resplendent in a vast, infinite space, capable of neither being defined by limits nor contained within the compass of signs and illusions. So he's talking about space. Very interesting, huh? Let's put this in here, just for a second. All praise be to him who was its author and creator, the creator of this space, this infinite space, capable of, cannot be defined by limits or contained within the compass of signs and illusions. All praise be to him who was its author and creator, who has spread it out and adorned it with countless lamps and never fading luminaries. So he's talking about the stars here, celestial bodies, the luminous, the lamps, and never fading luminaries. So now we kind of sure about almost 100% that he is in the physical universe. He's talking about the physical, phenomenal universe. None knoweth the hosts of thy Lord save him. This is from Quran. He made the circuits of these luminous divine orbs. Circuits, I think that's their orbit, their path, traveling path. Must be. Circuit. Circuit means you start from one place and you eventually go back to the same starting point. That's a circuit. That's when they say open circuit. Open circuit means that the starting point and the ending point is not one and the same. But a closed circuit, which is a circuit, the beginning and the end of the circuit is one and the same point. He made the circuits of these luminous divine orbs to be their lofty. He made the circuits of these luminous divine orbs. Now, see, here he says he made the circuits of these luminous divine orbs. Why does he say divine? These are phenomenal stars, physical stars. Why does he say divine? Divine orbs. To be He made the circuits of these luminous divine orbs to be their lofty and celestial spheres. And he made the bodies of these spiritual spheres. Here we go again. He made the bodies. He talked about bodies. When he's talking about the body, that's physical. But he says he made the bodies of these spiritual spheres. So we're talking about physical body. What is that? Has anything to do with the spiritual spheres? Spiritual spheres. Spiritual spheres. I have no idea. So could he be referring to, which I don't even think that's correct to say it, but I'm going to say it because that's the only thing that came to my mind is but he explained in I'm not even sure, maybe in this very tablet, Abdul-Baha says that all the other realms, and he's talking about the spiritual realms, revolve around this one, this phenomenal universe. So basically, everything is spiritual in that sense. Somehow, in the physical universe, we also have an additional appearance, which is phenomenal, physical, material. He made the circuits of these luminous divine orbs to be their lofty and celestial spheres. He made the circuits of these luminous divine orbs to be their lofty and celestial spheres. The circuits of these luminous divine orbs to be their lofty and celestial spheres. I don't know if I have to take it to heart the divine when it's related to orbs. And he made the bodies of these spiritual spheres to be subtle and soft. Bodies of these celestial spheres, spiritual spheres. Why spiritual spheres? To be subtle and soft. The bodies of these spiritual spheres. So these spiritual spheres are these to be equated with lofty and celestial spheres? He made the circuits of these luminous divine orbs to be their lofty and celestial spheres. He made the bodies of these spiritual spheres to be subtle and soft, flowing and liquid. This sounds like plasma. Undulating and vibrating plasma. in such manner that these refulgent orbs swim. Refulgent. What does refulgent mean? What's the meaning of refulgent? Refulgent. Refulgent. Undulating and vibrating in such manner that these refulgent orbs swim in the circumferences of this sphere. So this is sphere. Is he talking about ether? He's talking about the matrix of the space, the ether. It's not physical. But is he using spiritual? It says spiritual spheres to be subtle and soft, flowing and liquid. The bodies of these spiritual spheres. He is talking about the ether, the space itself, which is, it's not tangible, it's intelligible. So I think he's using spiritual spheres to mean that it's intelligible. Ether. Okay, let's see here now. Refulgent means what? The declining sun through his refulgent means shining brightly, radiant, gleaming. That means refulgent. Okay? So the shining So let's read that again. He made the circuits of these luminous divine orbs to be their lofty and celestial spheres. He made the circuits of these luminous divine orbs. What does that mean? Luminous divine orbs. Why divine? To be their lofty and celestial spheres. He made the circuits of these luminous divine orbs luminous divine orb, these are all lowercase, to be their lofty and celestial spheres. So the sphere that is intelligible, but there is a sphere, there's a volume in there, supposedly. The circuit of these luminous divine orbs to be their lofty and celestial spheres. So they go around the circuit, their orbit is around these spheres, which is right. And he made the bodies of these celestial spheres to be subtle and soft, flowing and liquid, undulating and vibrating in such manner that these refulgent orbs, that means the suns, swim in the circumferences of the spheres. So this is their circuit, this is their orbit, and move in their vast space, and it is, by the aid of their creator and maker, their ordainer and fashioner. My God. به قول اردشیر, my goodness. So we have here made the circus of these luminous divine orbits. These are problems. By their lofty, to be their lofty and celestial spheres. He made the bodies of these spheres. Bodies. So, I was going to say, if these bodies may be meant to be planets, but I guess not. He made the bodies of these celestial to be subtle and soft, flowing and liquid, undulating and vibrating in such manner that these refulgent orbs giving light, so these are suns, okay, this also, to be subtle and soft, flowing and liquid, undulating and vibrating in such manner that these refulgent orbs swim in the circumferences of the spheres and move in their vast space by the aid of the creator and maker, the ordainer and fashioner. Circumference of the sphere. Okay. Divine and all-encompassing wisdom hath ordained that motion be an inseparable concomitant of existence, whether inherently or accidentally. So motion could be inherent. That means what? That means it's essential. Or accidentally, that means an agent, an outside agent, puts another thing into motion. That's accidentally. Spiritually or materially. Okay, now this is interesting. He says what is accidental is material. What is material it's originated, so it's accidental. And then inherently or spiritually, not originated, not the same way that the accidental is, material is. Oh, this is fascinating. Oh my God. inherently or accidentally. And then spiritually, which is inherently or materially. Check this out. Whether inherently or accidentally, spiritually or materially. So divine and all-encompassing wisdom had ordained that motion be an inseparable concomitant of existence, whether inherently, so the motion is either inherent or accidental, spiritual or material. There's a comma in between, so that means the two names correspond, the ones to the two names on the right of the comma correspond with the two names or adjectives or adverbs that are on the left, separated by a comma. This movement must be governed by some check or rein, some regulator or director. Otherwise, order will be disrupted, and the spheres and bodies, so these spheres are not tangible, they're intelligible. Bodies, however, are tangible, they're phenomenal. Actually, I don't know, I guess, yeah, physical. I'm not using the right words here because these are extremely precisely picked and explained. Gotta be very careful to replace them by different names or words or phrases. This movement, which movement? This movement, that means the divine and all-encompassing wisdom that ordained that motion be an inseparable concomitant of existence, whether inherently or accidentally, spiritually or materially. This movement must be governed by some checks or rein. Some regulator or director. Otherwise, order will be disrupted, and the spheres and bodies will fall from the heavens. This is interesting when he says, fall from the heavens. Where do they fall to? Fall from the heavens. Obviously, he's not talking about actual falling here. Disrupted, and the spheres and bodies will fall from the heavens. It seems like they're up there, they're going to fall down. That's very surprising to use this kind of language. For this reason, God brought into being a universal attractive force between these bodies to hold sway over them and govern them. A force deriving from the firm ties, the mighty correspondence and affinity that exist between the realities of these limitless worlds. For this reason, so they don't fall down, For this reason, God brought into being a universal attractive force. Universal. Is that the magnetic force? Magnetism? Maybe. Universal attractive force between these bodies to hold sway over them, to control them, and govern them. A force deriving from the firm ties. So everything is tied together. The mighty correspondence and affinity that exists between the realities of these limitless worlds. So the reality is connected with each other. This connection is what holds them in their place. So related to each other, one stays in one, has a coordinate, let's say, due to others. So as this single body influences all the other bodies also influence this single body. So everything is in everything. By the operation of this attractive force, those holy and resplendent suns, by the operation of this attractive force, those holy and resplendent suns. Now, when he says holy here, because we also had similar luminous divine orbs, maybe he's using holy because they're magnificent in size, in the power that they can exude on other bodies, celestial bodies. I don't know. By the operation of this attractive force, those holy and resplendent suns, let's talk about the stars, with their luminous worlds. Now, luminous worlds means itself. It's the sun itself. It's a world. Worlds. Worlds means what is illumined with the star is the luminous world. Satellites and planets, I guess so. Yes. So they have their light fill the space around them, including planets and satellites, circling and orbiting in their heavens, okay, at once exerted attraction and were subject to it, induced motion and were themselves moved, began orbiting and set into orbit other bodies, shone forth and caused others to shine. I love it. That is a very close relationship. Seems like it. In this manner, they became arranged in a perfectly ordered system. It is a system. I love the way you use the word system, ordered system. It is a system. Each one a handiwork of consummate fashioning and manifest beauty. Each one of these, Because he's talking about solar systems. Each one a handiwork of consummate fashioning and manifest beauty, each one an enduring creation and a conclusive proof. Proof of what? Conclusive proof of God has to be. Glory be to him who attracted them, laid firm hold on them, imbued them with effulgence, ordered them and set them in motion. And far from his glory be that which any of his creatures can affirm of him or attribute to him. My goodness. As I had the sheet. Let's see where we at. We are 46 minutes into the recording. I'm going to stop here. And then read the rest of it in a different recording. So these paragraphs we just read, they're pretty abstruse. Now, I think there are a couple of more maybe similar. That's the best I can do to use this word similar. Paragraphs that explaining maybe have, I don't know, related themes. But he's going to get more specific as he goes further into the tablet.